Morning, Scorpio. So I'm in a tree house, and it's quite a big one, and there are some bees that I can see are swarming around the outside. So let's hope. I mean, I think they're nesting on the side of it. So let's see whether we attract the bees. But so it's Scorpio and bee people, obviously. And I'm recording this. It's a collective and timeless. Sorry, it's a timeless reading, not a collective reading. But it is Mabon. So we're on autumn equinox today. So if you're seeing it soon after that, happy autumn equinox. Right, let's dive straight in. You on the inside, the Page of Cups. So you're feeling very loving, youthful, and like you want to send messages of love. To those around you. Actually, let's pull all the cards first. So how is this making you act on the outside? Scorpio and bee people. How is that making you act on the outside? Oh, there you go. Strength. And what's at the basis of the reading? Oh, another card of love. Queen of Cups. And something that's happened in the recent past. Something that's happened in the recent past. Something that's happened in the recent past. It's nice being in a tree. I like it. Oh, where's the recent past? Scorpio and bee people. That's strange. What are you not wanting to talk about in the recent past? The Wheel of Fortune and the Page of Swords. And a potential outcome. A potential outcome. A potential outcome. A potential outcome. I'm not talking very quickly this morning. Oh, shut up, we are. Potential outcome is the Two of Coins or Pentacles and the Ten of Wands. And let's just put those so I can see them all. Move these up a bit. And then your attitude, bee and Scorpio people. Queen of Swords. And your environment. And your environment. And your environment. Death. And your hopes and fears. Hopes and fears. Hopes and fears. The Fool. And an outcome. I'm talking quite quietly because although my friends who I'm staying with are asleep, I don't want to get caught doing this. There'll be lots of giggling at me. So an outcome. An outcome. An outcome. Oh wow, lovely. I'm going to cover her up. We've got the World and the Four of Wands. It's due to start raining today, so that's the other thing I've got to be aware of. I think we're okay at the moment. So we've got 3, 4. Oh, and it is starting to rain. Let's see. We've got 5 majors. We've got 2 key cups. And then 2 swords. And one pentacle and one wand. And in the basis of it, and I think it's about what you love. Finding a way. It's interesting. Finding a way to connect to what you love, but there feels like an element of, this isn't the basis of the situation, but there feels like an element of, there's some sort of struggle to connect to what you want, what you love at the moment. It's not as easy as it should be. Anyway, let's dive in. So we've got you as the Page of Cups, standing on your stage. So these stage cards, they're interesting. It either means that you're very self-aware of what you're doing. So Pixie Coleman Smith, who drew these cards, was a set designer as well as an illustrator and a mystic and an actress, I think, as well. So I'm pretty sure about that. I'm not sure about the actress, but I need to double check that. But she certainly did scene dressing, scene set making. So there's a bit of confusion as to what she might have meant, because it was totally up to her to illustrate all the minor arcana, and she was given no direction. And a lot of them have these, or a large portion of them have these, not a large portion, the majority don't, but a good handful have these set. Now, like you're on a stage with these double lines. So there's sort of indication that maybe it is just a stage, or that you're observing yourself in this state. So if we look at the lovely Page of Cups, who looks so similar to our, he's got such a similar youthful energy to what you hope and fear for with the Fool. There might be an element of sort of faking it till you make it, play acting, visualizing this into being. I think you know what you love, but there's a sense of sort of concentrating on it, cajoling it. Sorry, I'm reaching for it, but it's coming through in a really different way. So, like you have to really focus on this kind of like a little bud. Like at this time of year, some very few seasonal crocuses are coming up. So it's almost like when you see one of those little crocuses making it through the earth at this time of year, it feels quite vulnerable. And there's a sense of that. The way that he's appearing to me today, he's got his fish in his grail cup. This is what you really wish for, is sort of having this connection to something this innocent, this pure, but it's slippery, like that fish. It's not quite there for you at the moment. So that's your internal world. Of course it's there because you've got a concept of it, but I just can't help thinking it's kind of slipping away from you somehow. And in the external, the way that makes you act is that you are like this strength. The female magician, you are, I feel like you're trying to wrestle this reality into being. I don't know why so strongly this is coming through to me like this, but it does feel like that. It feels like something you have to really, really focus on. And yes, her eyes are closed today. She's in this beautiful environment, but she's a giant within the environment. So you're using a large part of you to pull from the depths something that is unseasonably, maybe for your age or your stage, innocent. What can I see about her today? Spring garland, so I don't know whether something to do with the spring. a lion like an astrakhan coat. Don't know if that means anything to anyone. How high up his hind legs are. Like slightly awkwardly made. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a wrestle. And that's very curious. But at the basis of the reading is this very mature love of the Queen of Cups, which shows me that you are the kind of person that would understand what needs to be brought forth. So you've got the strength, which immediately means somebody who's got great esoteric knowledge and has got a kind of, not necessarily actually, has got a great ability to use a kind of femininity and a softness to sort of maneuver things into a position that she wants, in a way that doesn't necessarily alert everyone around her that it's happening. So that kind of is a bit like the Queen of Cups, who I wouldn't actually say the Strength card is manipulative. She's just very sure of what should happen, and I feel like there's some part of you that is very sure now that you've seen something very clearly, something very fresh and new needs to come out. And the Queen of Cups kind of energy is the kind of energy that would really understand that in a mature way. So she's probably the one working in cahoots with your sort of strength side that's pulling this into being. Yeah, she's really concentrating on the Grail Cup this morning. Like, like trying to laser beam it with her eyes, like trying to make something happen through her sheer will. And she's got this one hand, which is white, and it sort of always represents potentiality, something that she's making happen. So I do think there is an element where she's working with this new, budding, unseasonably fresh energy in the middle of maybe circumstances in your life that have not felt like this. She's really sort of pulling that out. So that's amazing. She looks a bit tipped out of her seat today. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't look so comfortable. And it's interesting, we're looking at her left side. The left side traditionally would mean the feminine side. She shows us her feminine side, like the strength shows her feminine side. So regardless if you're masculine or feminine or however you identify, there's a sense of using that kind of feminine energy to, almost through a force of will and concentration, bring this thing about. So interesting. And in the recent past, do you remember it didn't want to come out for a while? In the recent past, there has been you jumping in very firmly with this Page of Swords to effect some change. And we always say when you see the Wheel of Fortune anyway, we jump in to effect change. But there's some deeply strategic part of you, Scorpio, bee people, that has consciously jumped in. And I love how the Sphinx on the top is holding a sword that's in a very similar manner to hers. I mean, the Sphinx's is over her shoulder, and hers is more held in front. But I feel that, so that's the side of you, the Sphinx, and this time it's a Sphinx that's got the headdress of both the black and white combined. So when you see the Sphinx, you think of the Chariot, with those two Sphinxes, one predominantly black, one predominantly white, that are driving this chariot without the reins. And they always make us think in turn of the High Priestess. So is there some way in which you've used something deeply intuitive, from really watching and being really still? You've, like the High Priestess would, she would really observe a situation until she felt she really knew it, just by being with it, by sort of becoming one with it almost. Then its kind of mysteries reveal themselves to her. And has that given you the impetus to go on this kind of quest that the Chariot usually indicates, to change something up quite radically? you know, those two swords are so sort of aligned in their trajectory, not in the way they're being held, but they feel like a double sense of purpose, a double strength. So you've managed to, but why were you being secret about it? You've managed to make this, maybe because it comes from the High Priestess in its genesis, maybe there's some deep-rooted internal shift that you've made. You could be doing therapy, you could be journaling, an excavation of something deep within you that you've done privately, but that's given you a very clear direction and changed something, definitely changed something. So there's a lot of you making a lot of deliberate changes in your life at the moment. And where this is all going potentially, 2 of Pentacles and 10 of Wands. So that would indicate still juggling quite a lot, and not in an unhappy way with the 2 of Pentacles, but it could become a bit of a burden with the 10 of Wands. 2 realities, while this young bit grows, it could feel a little bit too much. Both of these are stage cards, so they might be what you're thinking could happen. Oh, it's raining now. I have to protect my cards. I keep doing this, sort of staying out. Could you wait a minute, Rain? Just want to finish this. Anyway, let's see. So there could be a sense of a stage in this process becoming quite burdensome while you juggle and allow this new reality to become bigger. Or is that how you're thinking about it? Because it's a stage card. Would that be your preoccupation? And then another queen in your attitude. So we've got the Queen of Cups and then her exact opposite in the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords is the one that when the Queen of Cups becomes too sweet and lovely and doing too much for everyone, she tips over into this bitch of the pack. I mean, she's a lot more than the bitch of the pack. She's a wonderful, incisive, intelligent, no-nonsense energy. But so your attitude is a bit like that. And of course, she's sort of very akin to where we see you in the past, effectively affecting this change. So I think you're using that kind of incredibly incisive part of you to create the environment for this very tender part. You've taken over from the Queen of Cups. You understand what she's imagined into being with the force of her will and the love from her heart, and how she's imagined what would her personal Grail Cup be to her. And now you're using this incisive mental energy. And now we're looking at the right side of the face. So with the Queen of Cups, we're looking at her left. That's interesting. I've never really noticed that before. And now we're looking at the right side. So we're using a kind of traditionally more masculine with the right side of ourselves, less receptive and accommodating to everybody around, and much more pragmatic. She's totally up above those clouds. So here we see her in the recent past, your part of you trying to sort of see beyond. You know, this is a young energy, another page, like your internal Page of Cups, trying to get up above those clouds, like me in the treehouse, to see how she can strategize and trying to slightly make it up. But now we've graduated into this incredible energy of being way above the clouds. And I love how she just has one bird above her head, one very clear idea. Whereas in the Page of Swords, there's all sorts of plans and strategies and possibilities that you're bringing into being with this strategy. Whereas here, there's one clear sort of truth and one clear idea. It's like incredibly soothing, straightforward plan. She wears all of her clouds on her cloak as if like a hunter that's saying, I've mastered this animal and I'm wearing its pelt. She's mastered all that kind of confused thought. And her hand, I'm very much seeing her hand up like this, so she's looking, you're seeing this side of her, but she's using her left hand. That's interesting. So you're seeing her right side, and her right side holds the sword, but there is a receptive quality to her still that's bringing me back to the Queen of Cups, who holds that cup, actually interesting, in both her right and her left hand. So the left hand here is sort of caressing the base of it, and the right is the pure potential that actually cradles the cup. And here, the very definite right, and then a more whimsical left. So there's a sort of balancing of this kind of interplay of energies here. And maybe that's what we saw when we saw your potential outcome. Maybe that's what it's about. Maybe this is where this reading's going. Is there a sense that you need to balance two ways of your internal being, one which is very, very clear about how you're going to go about getting something, and the other that nurtures and considers and waits slowly with all your love to bring something forward. So it's really interesting. I love how both of these queens have little cherubs on their thrones to help them. There's one there, and then there's two at the top there, and one at the base of the Queen of Cups. So a sense of a very beautiful, fresh energy, but also it's like unborn babies, I want to say, unborn ideas, unborn potential, that they're both in service of, but just in very different ways. And that's that Page of Cups energy, that kind of the fish. It doesn't appear in either of these, but yeah, they're in service of unborn potential, unexplored potential. That's what they're both there to do. How interesting, the way I'm seeing it today anyway. And in your environment, we have death. So yeah, you've had a rebirth. I mean, I'm not surprised to see it here. You've jumped into the Wheel of Fortune, you've affected change, and there's quite a sort of strategy going on. So of course there's been some sort of death of the old king. Looks really crammed today, this image. This looks like Kellogg's cornflakes to me. I've never seen that before, the rising sun. But it looks crammed. They all look too shoved in together, which I don't normally see them like. As if, so a kind of crammed, a very sort of dense transformation. There's been a lot to work out within it, a lot to let go of in order for this rebirth to come. And I always loved that little girl with her funny instrument at the bottom. Like her funny prosthetic arm in a way. It's not, it's an instrument or something, but you see her shoulder like a little kind of donut, and then this beautiful curly golden instrument. Like, could that be like something like an ear, something from within the ear, an ear bone, some sort of inner hearing that allows that youthful part to be standing up to the death figure. She's the one that seems completely unbothered, so that's interesting. And your hopes and fears, the Fool, you know that you've got to step off this cliff. You're sort of in the process of doing it. There's been this death and rebirth. There's been this forcing of transformation, or kind of acting in order to form this transformation in the Wheel of Fortune. And I think, that's your huge hope, to bring out, his little zero on his head. He's so like the Fool. Is that going into focus? But he was on a stage. He was kind of like an idea internally for you. And now you really want to live it. You want to throw yourself into this new world. It almost looks scenic to me, the sort of crazy gold of that background, and then the kind of jaggedy cliffs. But you're wanting to step into the scene, that's what I feel. In your mind, you're thinking, I know it's there, and now I've got to live this. This has really got to happen. How lovely. And the parts of the cliff that he's standing on look like they could fall anyway. So who knows, he might not even have to jump. So that's lovely. And of course a fear, because new beginnings are fear. So that position in the reading is hopes and fears. It's predominantly a hope, but of course a fear. All change brings up a little bit of fear. But where it's all going, B and Scorpio, is the world and the Four of Wands, which is amazing. You are making a partnership with this part. Now this is one of the stage cards, but I think you're going to see yourself making that partnership with this youthful energy, and it's such a marriage of pieces, and there's such a sense of stability and joy here. It's parties, marriage, weddings, partnerships. They always have a sort of slightly Mexican Day of the Dead face to me, these two. Strange, because they look quite ghost-like. So there is a sense that they're almost like they're your potential selves welcoming you into this new space. You've done it. You can hardly believe it. You're looking at yourself approaching this new partnership where you've nurtured and allowed some very tender part, no shaming of it, no trampling on it, and now you're kind of approaching the stage where it can graduate into something that you can form a partnership with, and that really puts you in the centre of your world in a very, very balanced way. This is the ultimate card in the Major Arcana. So your hopes and fears are to start the journey of the Major Arcana, and your outcome is you not only do you start it, but you complete it. So this represents the full turn of the wheel, effectively, with the 10 sort of is your staging post in the background. I know the 11 of the Justice is really the centre part, but there's that sense of kind of beginning, middle and end to your journey. You've just done the middle bit. You hope to jump in, and the Fool is interesting. He can jump in anywhere within the process. It's always a sort of fresh start, a beautiful initiatory energy. But I just find it so lovely that your hopes and fears is that, and then you end up in partnership with this great innocent part, this beautiful, loving, strange bud of a oh, something's falling, of a reality that then puts you right in the centre of this laurel leaf. And we've got the lion, Leo, and the Taurus symbol looking straight at us. We've got then the woman and the eagle. We're looking at the sides of their faces again, so we're looking at the right and the left. There's this sense of enormous balance and great celebration. I can't help but think she's still looking for something a little bit. There's always that eternal quest, isn't there? And she's showing us slightly her right side of her face. It's funny, we were doing a pre-Raphaelite photo shoot here yesterday. She reminds me of that pre-Raphaelite image. And the pre-Raphaelites were interesting, weren't they? I've not studied them ever. But one of my godchildren was doing a pre-Raphaelite project. So she had all these beautiful images that she's researched. And she was taking pictures in order to create a piece of work that's like a kind of modern version of it. And we were kind of trying to think, what are the key things to pre-Raphaelite? And there's the sort of at one with nature, a whimsy, and the sort of looking out as if, a bit like this character in the world, she's still searching. She's still connected to something quite divine. She doesn't look quite at us. She's still, even though she's reached the end of this journey, she's very much in a mystical space. So, yeah, and the other things of the pre-Raphaelites, the beautiful quality of the light. What else were we looking at? The sort of draping of the clothes, always this kind of soft draping of the clothes. I mean, this was all pointed out to me by my goddaughter, not me picking it up, but I was just listening to the way that she was trying to style this shoot in order to pick up these key elements. And also this idea of sewing. It was interesting. We were pretending to be sewing. It's interesting. There is something otherworldly about those images. They knit a sense of the pastoral with a sense of a storytelling or an illustration or a fairy tale. And maybe that's to do with knitting in that younger side. Maybe that's why I'm seeing it, knitting in this kind of conceptual, very idealistic view of things, which would be a bit like the pre-Raphaelite. Think of that image of Ophelia lying in the water with all those flowers around her. Can't quite imagine all the details now, but I've got such a sort of, like it's quite an iconic image. Telling stories through art. Maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're bringing out some really beautiful stories, old stories. Yeah, maybe that's it, into a modern interpretation. God, I'd be fascinated to know what it is. It's just coming to me quite strongly, so let's pull some capping cards. I'm going to pull, well done if you've got this far, I'll try and keep it a bit chippity-choppity. When I was in Italy, I was on my own time frame. I've got to read these two cards, so I forget, for a reading I did for Libra, where I didn't read the two challenging cards, which was interesting. What have we got here? Oh, so we've got the Seeker of Challenges. Let's see. The Seeker of Challenges. So these cards tend to sort of give you something to look at. So he's reminding me of the Death card immediately, who's in his armour as well. But this guy's off his horse. Let's have a look. Here we go, the Seeker of Challenges. These are quite whimsical and sweet. These aggressive, forceful, talent, skilled at confrontation, sharp-witted, sardonic, loyal in the marital sense, can't be bribed. So this would be, I guess, the King of Swords. So the counterpart to that energy that in your attitude of the Queen of Swords. An enormous knight stands, oh no, maybe he is a knight, so he's the Knight of Swords, stands immovably on the forest path, the white raven blazoned on his shield and the iron feathers on his black armour declare him to be the Seeker of Challenges. His helm conceals his face, but the sword in his hand and the readiness of his stance speak of menace. His warhorse dances with impatience at a safe distance from the proposed battle. The Seeker of Challenges is not going to let you pass. He's spoiling for a fight, determined to find trouble or make it himself. If this card does not represent a particular person, it could indicate a situation that's reached an impasse, a breakdown in diplomacy, or a move towards war. That's an unhappy word to hear at the moment. I'm going to take it that this means you need to use something quite strong in yourself in order to defend this very innocent part of yourself, rather than thinking you're going to come up against any kind of adversary, because I don't really see that here. I think it's just bringing us back to that Queen of Swords energy and the Page of Swords energy as well, and saying don't forget to really employ that side of you. And then very quickly we're going to pull something from the Shining Tarot. These are much more complex as cards, but they're from the Rachel Pollock deck. They are a Rachel Pollock deck. So they're very dense. She was an incredible tarot scholar, and she uses indigenous. I can't take all of those. So what have we got here? The sun, the place of stones. I can't take four. I need to go in and have breakfast. And it's going to start raining, just to see what it is. 9 of birds, and the spiral of fortune. Okay, they often indicate something that we need to look at from the reading. So it's saying, so it's bringing us back to the idea of you stepping in and changing in the spiral of fortune, the wheel of fortune. I don't see the 5 of stones here. I don't see the place of stones. I don't see the sun, although I've got lots of that lovely yellow energy. And I don't see the 9 of birds. So maybe it's talking about the spiral of fortune. I think that's what I'm going to take. Because I'm not reading all of those, and I think it's usually, it's even the way she's illustrated the book. It's interesting, so let's take that. So number 10, the spiral of fortune. Breaking out of an old pattern, change that liberates, gaining a wider vision, the possibility of a breakthrough, especially when a person seems to have gotten nowhere. It spins like the sun, it shines like the water, it springs past the darkness, it breaks through the cycle. The traditional card of 10 in the wheel is the Wheel of Fortune, showing an ever-turning wheel, symbolising the idea of life as a circle that carries us upwards for the first half of our lives and downwards to death for the second. Well, I've never read it like that, but that's interesting. Many people also have seen the Wheel of Fortune and the Great Wheel of as the Great Wheel of Reincarnation and Karma, an endless cycle of experience until we know the truth and liberate ourselves from rebirth. Another source of this image in the wheel is the Wheel of the Year, from summer lushness to winter barrenness and back to summer, with the 4 solar points of equinoxes and solstices and the 4 cross-quarter days. So we're on the autumn equinox today, so I think that's lovely. The cards are talking to us about that, turning in the year. And also they're paired with a kind of a sword card. So we had the Page of Swords with the Wheel of Fortune. Now we've got the Knight of Swords, effectively, from that Enchanted deck, with the Spiral of Fortune. So it's saying using something kind of really strong to make this change. Shining Tribe Tarot replaces the closed wheel with a spiral. The image comes from a rock carving in a canyon in Utah. The spiral goes round and round with the blue circle. I'm going to have to stop because it's suddenly raining so hard. I'm going to come back to this. You might see me at home next.